to the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. My name is Greg Tepper. Joining me tonight on a very special episode of the RYLACast is the man they call Josey, Andrew Utz.
Well, hello, Greg.
Happy Camp Week.
Happy Camp Week. We're here.
So it is, there are no secrets on the show. We're recording this on Tuesday night, May 23rd, 2023. And so now you're getting to camp Saturday morning?
Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon. So
Yeah.
you're less than 3 days from being at camp.
Yes. And if I may interject, so we had a call back to Janina a couple weeks ago on the podcast. Her level of preparedness for camp, I'm at the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, no.
A bookend of where we stand on Tuesday evening.
So I am, I'm similar. I have not started packing, but I've started thinking about packing. Does that help?
Okay, that helps. I find a good plan, a mental plan in place is important.
Started thinking about packing because I've got my big work project, which is due on Friday. So I've kind of been consumed with that. And then I'm going to wake up Saturday and pack. And then I can't get to, staff is supposed to get there Saturday morning. But then I'll be getting there Saturday evening instead because I've got to do dad things around here.
Yes.
But yeah, I will start packing. But I think I don't know. I've already ordered a few of the things that I knew I want to bring. So I have some snacks. I have sunscreen. Right. I did like Amazon order. So it was like sunscreen, or no, this was, maybe Walmart. Sunscreen, a cough drops.
Okay.
Oh, buddy.
That's good.
Yeah. Like throat lozenges. That's clutch. And yeah. So, and an air freshener for my room.
I've heard yes, sorry, I cut you off.
No, by all means.
I've heard you make sure your room, you and your, bunkmate, make sure your room is a nice, relaxing, calming place to stay.
I want it to be an oasis. An oasis. Camp is stressful. Whatever we can do to make our own little sanctuary is helpful. So that's what we're going for. Is our own little sanctuary. This is the RYLACast, the official podcast, Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. And I guess we should probably acknowledge this. There is a decent chance that you've never listened to this podcast before, you, person hearing my voice, and that you found out about this podcast because, your child is presently on their way to camp or is going to camp here in a minute, to which I would reply, hey, thanks for listening. Hi.
Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome. This is we are the podcast of the program, and we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we talk about some leadership things, and we also just kind of goof around. So if that's your thing, keep listening. If it's not, no hard feelings. It's okay. Coming up here in just a little bit, we will have a great interview with Sarah Gaona, who is coming back to camp for the first time since way back in 2019. I mean, eons ago. She will be coming back to camp. And so we will talk with Sarah Gaona coming up here in just a minute. And then I guess I should tease this. This is what they call a vertical tease.
Ooh,
Josey.
Yes.
Coming up here later in the episode, a major podcast announcement.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
Major podcast announcement.
I'm excited to hear what that major podcast announcement is.
I know you're doing the theater thing where it's like, I don't know what it is, but Josey does actually know. I should be clear, we're not that disorganized. So we will get into that coming up here in just a little bit. But first, Josey, if I may, I'd like to talk a little bit about something I was reading about. I am often, as you know, I often find myself just casually scrolling the internet and reading about Lithuanian Soviet psychologists.
Yes, as
That's just my thing.
As one does. That's your thing,
That's yeah, you know me. Like I'm into like my family, I'm into like sports, and I'm into Lithuanian Soviet psychologists. That's not true, but I did find something that I've started reading a little bit more about. Josey, have you ever heard of the Zeigarnik effect? Zeigarnik.
Bless you. And no, I have not.
The Zeigarnik effect. Okay, so this was coined by named after Bluma Zeigarnik, who was a Lithuanian Soviet psychologist.
Okay.
And she did studies on memory. Okay, she did studies on how things can be recalled, and the Zeigarnik effect states something that I think we know intrinsically to be true, but when you hear it, you're like, huh, wait a second. That shouldn't be the case. And that is that people remember unfinished or interrupted tasks better than completed tasks. Okay.
Okay.
So what we're talking about, and if you put it to you like this, how often do you lay awake at night and think about the things that you didn't get done today?
Quite often.
How often do you lay awake at night and think about the things you got done today?
Never. Not once in my life have I laid in bed and thought about all I accomplished that day.
Right. Me neither. And so, and again, it's one of those things that when you think about it for 5 seconds, you go, yeah, I guess that does make sense. But we postulate, or like it postulates that people remember things that are unfinished or interrupted better than completed tasks. Now, that can be a little bit of, let's call it a challenge. Because it can cause stress, it can cause anxiety, it can cause all sorts of different things that I can understand why there would be some people who would say, well, that stinks. We should find a way to fix that because otherwise, it's gonna start driving you nuts. I would suggest to you, Josey, that there's a way to leverage that. That there's a way to leverage this anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I can't figure out how, or oh my gosh, I didn't get this thing done. And that is to use that particular effect whenever you're stuck. So think about the idea of whenever you get together and you're all you got a group together and you're trying to figure out the solution to a problem and you just can't figure it out. You just can't figure it out. What if you were to leave the problem and be like, all right, we're just going to delay a decision on this. We're going to leave it unresolved. That is then going to cause everyone in your group to go home and be and think about it, right? Because that's our natural instinct. Our natural instinct is I left this thing unresolved. I need to close the loop on this. But leaving those issues unresolved could trigger the effect, which could often result in better solutions emerging. And it's one of those like counterintuitive things of leave something to figure it out, like forget about it, like and like leave it alone. Don't solve it to solve it. But I was thinking about this. I read something about this in an article in the Harvard Business Review about 5 ways to boost creativity. But it's because like that's something we've been dealing with at work is like, how do we come up with better creative ideas? How can we continue to grow as a team and stuff like that? And one of the things that I read about was just like leave it alone. And if you leave it alone, then it'll drive enough people crazy that they'll come up with solutions to like when they're just laying awake at night.
It's like controlled chaos was okay. That sounds.
It sounds
maddening.
Like it shouldn't make sense.
Right.
It sounds almost cruel. Like to be like, all right, I'm going to leave every one of my coworkers to go think about this on their own time, but it probably works. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to try it. Next time we have like a problem that we can't put together, I'm going to do it. Because how many times, think about this, how many times do you wish you had, to borrow a phrase from a buddy of mine, how many times do you wish you had brain notes where you could like, you're laying in bed and instead of like grabbing a piece of paper and a pen, you could just like jot something down in your brain?
Yes.
Like,
100%.
because it's that same thing, because you're thinking about all the things you didn't get done and your best ideas come right then. So I don't know. It was something very interesting that I think we can, if you can leverage that particular kind of that bit of psychology, the Zeigarnik effect, then maybe it can affect your group in a positive way. So maybe this week when we're at camp and we can't figure out, like, I don't know, we can't figure out how to build the wall for the challenge course. If we leave it alone, then like suddenly John Huber will run over there and have a great idea.
Okay. Yes. That's fascinating.
Yes. So there you go. The Zeigarnik effect. You can read all about it courtesy of Lithuanian Soviet psychology, which, just a big fan of. All right, Josey, as we careen towards camp, let's go and get some great perspective with a great conversation with our friend Sarah Gaona, who's coming back to camp for the first time in 4 years. Here's our conversation with Sarah Gaona here on the RYLACast. Oh, Josey.
Oh, Greg.
We're mere days, hours. I guess everything is mere hours away from everything else, if you think about it. But really, we're closing in on Camp RYLA 2023.
Yes, that's pretty existential. Everything is mere hours from everything else.
It kind of is true if you think about it.
That is true.
I like to think of it as we're careening towards camp. And so we've got to get people fired up for camp if they're not already. And so with that, I think we brought in a very special guest. We are pleased to be joined on this episode of the RYLACast by our friend Sarah Gaona. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking some time. How is your packing going?
It's going really well. I've have a couple bags packed, but then there's like a whole other list of things. Like I have all my like costume stuff for calisthenics packed, and that took up like a whole bag. And I think I have the RYLA shirts that I pulled out of the drawer and rewashed so that they're not, have 4 years of creases in them. Like those are ready to go. And then I have this extensive packing list for everything else. So it's definitely going.
So that's actually a good place to start. Well, actually, a good place to start would be, could you tell us a little bit about your RYLA story and what brings you to the podcast today?
Sure. Yeah. So I was a camper in 2016. I was back on, I was an advisory member after that, and then an AC in a cabin in 2017. And then I actually was able to, since I'm local, I was able to stay involved with the advisory committee, and then was on alum staff in 2019. And then I did some stuff like with advisory after that, and then the pandemic hit. And so I kind of stepped away at that point because life was busy. But so back in 2019, I was on alum staff, and I kind of was doing just whatever, they needed me to do. But one thing that I thought was really cool about the role that I was in was that since I had been working with the advisory committee, I also got to support them, especially at camp. So I kind of felt like for that experience, it was like an AC to the ACs, in a way of kind of supporting them. But anyway, so that was when I was last at camp. And so I'm back at camp this year for the first time since 2019. So I am on the podcast, I guess, to get ready for camp.
So you were like the assistant to the assistant counselors.
That's kind of what I felt like. That wasn't an official role or anything. And I wasn't like supervising them directly because that's Becca's job and she does amazing at that. But I kind of was able to like step in when Becca was busy doing everything that Becca does. And so I was able to kind of be someone that was familiar to the ACs and kind of check in on them throughout the week. So that's kind of how I described it. just how I viewed it, it felt like an AC to the ACs. So this year I haven't been involved with advisory, so I don't think I'll be that close. So I'm not really sure what I'll be doing this year, but just kind of stepping into whatever is handed at me.
So I like that approach, and I'd be interested, given your experience with, previous time serving on staff, what your feelings are surrounding this camp specifically, and as you prepare and start to finish packing. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your feelings around coming back to camp.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I been to a couple events so far. I mean, a handful, just because as we've been at, parent orientation meetings and staff training day and things like that. So I've just coming back already to that atmosphere has been really exciting, and seeing people who I've, known before, but then haven't seen in a few years, and then meeting totally new faces who are, focused on the same goal of helping campers grow and having an awesome experience at camp. Has just been a really unique experience that RYLA is. And so it's just been super exciting already to step into that environment. And so I'm just even more excited because camp is, 110% all the way. So I'm mostly feeling excited about going to camp this year.
So then I don't mean to be blunt with this question, but what do you do? I'm sure you just haven't been sitting around waiting for Camp RYLA 2023 to come around like we have, but what do you do?
Yeah. So, I previously was teaching elementary school, and that's kind of why I hadn't been at camp for a little bit, because I was student teaching and just that was all of my time. And so I'm actually preparing right now to go back to grad school. So I've kind of been stepping out of that and then, or go back to school and go to grad school. So I'm preparing to get ready to start that in the fall. So planning on changing paths and pursuing speech pathology. So that's kind of what I've kind of been in a transition right now. So
that's disappointing because Josey doesn't know anything about speech pathology.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, this is unfortunate, Josey. You've got nothing to add here.
I had nothing to add. Big fans of speech language pathologists over here.
Yeah. Which is weird because I'm a big fan of public school educators. So we're just really big fans over here. Okay. So then when you take a look, and especially when you look back at what you were doing as far as preschool teaching is concerned, do you draw connections between what you kind of learned from camp and what you took from camp and what you take from the program to what you did then, and maybe what you've got going on moving forward?
Definitely. I think, a big part of why I love RYLA so much and why I've been, excited to come back on staff and be involved in the past times that I have been involved is just because I really want to help people reach their potential. And so I think RYLA is a huge, that's, we're helping to grow student leaders. And so that's a big, part of that overlaps. And that's why I went into teaching. And that's also why I'm pursuing another field that also helps people to develop and reach their potential just in a different, more specialized way. So that, I think there's definitely an overlap there. But then in terms of things that I've learned at RYLA, the biggest thing kind of comes back to my camper year and my board breaking experience. So with my board breaking experience, the barrier I put on my board was fear of failure. And so that experience was, I guess I have to share a little bit about it. So I put fear of failure on my board, and it took me, I don't know, it was probably 8 or 10 times to actually break the board. And so it was at the point where Troy came over and was talking to me individually, because I guess stood out so much because I was, failing at hitting my board. And so he came over and he's talking to me, and he's look, this is what you're facing right now. You're facing your barrier literally as you're, trying to break your board.
A little on the nose there.
Yes. And it's just such a tangible experience too, because, or I guess it's a tangible example of what it's like to experience failure. Because also like you have your whole cabin group surrounding you, and which is super great when things go well and they're cheering you on. But then it's also like, it's just really vulnerable. Like you're putting it all out there and it's not working. You're not succeeding. You're doing the best you can. And so it's just very, yeah, I guess vulnerable. So, but then, when you break it and obviously like they were cheering you along the whole way, and then like it's, chaos and excitement and everyone's crying and hugging, which is great. But anyway, so I guess I say that all to say that experience is a very tangible example for me of what it's like to experience failure and to just keep moving forward. And so anytime I'm faced with failure, whether it's, just I guess whatever it is, whether I've either experienced it or I'm facing a fear of failure, that is like a really tangible example of how to keep moving forward when facing failure. So that I think is the line that I can draw to experience in my life about how RYLA affects that. And it's been a really cool example for me.
That's really cool. And if we can just keep this Sarah train going, what would let's say we're 2 weeks away from this point in time now, what would you consider success in terms of your camp experience? What are you looking forward to getting out of camp this year?
Well, that's a good question. I guess just to be present the best I can, and not be worried too much about like, I don't know, like what other people think of me, what, how, I don't know, like how well I'm doing in that sense, and just focusing on like, am I doing the best I can in this moment? Like maybe I'm not as, cool or outgoing as this other person, or maybe I'm not, doing this, that, and the other thing like this other person, but am I showing up to this moment? Am I doing the very best I can? And I think looking back on a week of camp where I can say, yes, I've done that and I've been present in that moment and those moments and looked to the people who are right around me and if I'm able to serve them the best I can, then I think I'll look back on a week that was successful.
Well, I know that we talked at one point, I think at a orientation, and I think I told you, as somebody who did take some time away and then came back to the program, I will just tell you from personal experience, I was stunned at how much it all just came flooding back to you, just like nothing. And you're just like, oh, just like slipping into an old pair of shoes. And so now that was my experience. Maybe your experience will be different, but I get the feeling that you're going to settle right in and feel right at home right away. So this is the point in the podcast where we kind of offer you the floor. If there's something you are passionate about, if there's something you're interested in, if there's something that's piquing your interest right now, an opportunity to plug something that you're into. So with that, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I guess I'll plug a TV show that I've been really into lately. That also has an indirect connection to Camp RYLA, which I thought when I learned that up, I would oh my gosh, I'm stumbling over my words. When I found out about that, I just thought that was even cooler. So the show is actually called The Chosen, and it's the first multi-season show about the life of Jesus. And it's all crowdfunded, which is, I think, pretty impressive. And I think they do a really good job of showing the characters and like their plausible backstories and conflicts that they have with each other. And so I've been really enjoying that show. And I wasn't quite sure, because I was like, when I heard about it, a friend told me to watch it, and I was like, I don't know, that kind of sounds like a cheesy church show. I'm like, I don't know about that. But I started watching it, and like a few episodes in, I was like, oh, this is really good. It took me a couple episodes because I was like, there's so many characters, I can't keep them all track, keep track of them all. But then like when I got into it, I was like, oh, this is really good. So there are 3 seasons so far, and each season has gotten better and better. So it's all free. They have a free app, and then you can get it like wherever on, Roku, on different apps and app stores and stuff. So highly recommend that. But then the connection to RYLA is that both of them actually take place some of the time at Camp Hoblitzell. So the Chosen they've leased land from Hoblitzell because I guess Camp Hoblitzell is like over 1,000 acres. It's pretty big, and they've built a permanent set there, and then they're donating the set after they're done with it so that other productions can use it that don't have as much money to like buy, everything to make a set. So anyways, it indirectly relates to Camp RYLA, which I thought was pretty cool too.
So what you're saying is that there is a greater than zero chance that you may make a background appearance in a show that you really like.
There is a greater than zero chance. Yes. If I just like wander the wrong way, maybe I can make it in the back of the set. Who knows?
That's awesome. All right. Finally, last question. I know this has been going on our Instagrams and on our TikToks and stuff for the social medias for the youths, for RYLA. What should people bring to camp? What's something that people, when they're packing right now, that they're not thinking of that they need to throw in their bag right now as they hear your voice?
Good question. I hope they're already thinking about this, but if not, I definitely think they should bring snacks because snacks are awesome. You just shouldn't go anywhere without snacks. So I think that's my biggest recommendation.
Josey, I don't have any follow-ups. That seems like a perfect answer.
Yeah, that's a solid recommendation. No notes.
Yes, excellent. Sarah Gaona, thank you so much for your time. And hey, we'll see you this weekend.
Yes, thanks for having me. See y'all this weekend.
And our thanks once again to Sarah Gaona for being our guest. This is 100% true. I had to ask her how to pronounce her last name.
And I was going to come up with something like I didn't have to ask her, but I definitely waited for you to ask her.
Gaona, and it's like there's a lot of different pitfalls there. It's one of those things that because I helped put together the book, I've definitely written her name like 5 times, but never said it out loud. And then we got her on the call, and I was like, I just need you to say it for me, please, so I don't make an idiot of myself.
Here's one thing that I did not bring up with Sarah, and I regret it. So she went from Garber to Gaona.
Yeah.
She stayed in the same family.
Well, you'll have a week at camp to talk to her about it.
That's true. Because
let's see, because Joni went backwards in the alphabet.
Yeah.
My wife went from O to T, so she went backwards. I have to imagine, can you imagine a woman named Zimmerman and then she marries a guy named Adams?
Oh,
what a glow up that is.
It's a glow up, but also how many times in adulthood are you alphabetized by last name?
That's true. It's true. It feels like you need to, so what you're saying is that you should get married before graduation.
Well, that's a controversial topic on the welcome to all our new listeners on the RYLACast.
Just get married before graduation. And then you can skip out on that whole thing there at the end. You know what I mean? From the top, marry somebody with the last name Aaron and then leave, Anyway, we appreciate Sarah Gaona hopping on with us. Now, Josey, as we come towards camp, camp is mere days away.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a little bit of an announcement, a podcast announcement. And that is, I'm going to, you know what, right here, I'm going to insert some production value, like a drum roll, something like that. Here it is. The announcement that we have is that the RYLACast is coming to camp.
Whoa, okay.
Right. So one of our committees, the Good Morning RYLA committee, is expanding to become the Good Morning RYLA and podcast committee.
Okay.
And so the campers who are in the Good Morning RYLA and podcast committee will be putting out daily episodes in this feed during camp, hopefully starting Monday night. We're aiming for Monday night Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. 4 episodes next week during camp starring our beloved campers.
So if I'm a listener not at camp and I'm interested to hear what's going on, where do I go for this feed?
Josey, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it. You could find a link to it at our website, RYLA5810.org. Or you can just subscribe to the podcast on the podcast vendor of your choice. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play. We're on Spotify. We're on that other weird thing that your cousin uses. Like, we're on all of them. You can just find us. Or you can just Google RYLACast. We're the only RYLACast. We've checked. You can Google it and you'll find it there. But yes, the best bet would be to go to RYLA5810.org, and you can find all of the podcasts past and future starting Monday night with that. So we're going to have 4 for the first time in podcast history. We're going to have 4 episodes in a week.
That feels like a monumental.
Yeah. And all it took was somebody else to host it.
One minor correction, as you know, of course, we're always the most prepared. You can find out about the RYLAcast on RYLA5810.org.
Oh, yeah.
But I believe you'll have to go to RYLA5810alumni.org.
Oh, is that right?
I'm hopeful for sure you can find them at RYLA5810alumni.org. Hopefully, maybe by the time we're at camp, we might be able to slip a link into the Papa website.
We need to get that up there. Get that on the Big Boy website. But yes, okay. So RYLA5810alumni.org. Just Google it. If you Google RYLAcast, you'll find us, I promise. But we're really excited. I think it's going to be spectacular. I'm really excited to see what our campers come up with.
Yes.
Because for anyone who's listening who's never been to camp, we just kind of let them rip. Like, just let it go. Like, we're there to kind of like keep them, like, to be guardrails, but like essentially it's their camp. And we want to let them kind of do their thing. And so I'm really excited to see what they do. I think it could be fun and weird and exciting. And I'm excited to see what kind of podcast product we get. Maybe Josey, we're finally getting replaced.
Maybe.
Don't sound so excited.
It's a good leadership lesson, right? Like, you have to groom your replacement and be ready to be called up into the spotlight at a moment's notice.
That's exactly right. We need to do that. So I'm very excited for that. So stay tuned to this feed, because we will hopefully, let's see how internet holds up at camp. Let's also see how like computers hold up and stuff, because we are in the wilderness. But we should be able to have podcasts for you Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, or at the very least Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning is what we'll have it up as soon as we get them done. So very excited about this new edition. And yeah, as we close in on camp. All right, Josey, I do have to ask you the same question I asked our guest, Sarah Gaona. What is the one thing that people are not thinking of right now that they just throw in their bag, whether it's staff or campers?
Oh man, the one thing, it's tough. I've got a couple. Can I do a typical guest thing and say, like, I'm going to do a couple?
Yes.
So this is priority. We loaded trailers last weekend. Bring your bedding, because
oh my gosh, yes,
you're not going to want the bedding that we give to the people that forget theirs. We'll definitely take care of you, but I'm just
you don't want it.
No.
Yeah, you don't. I promise.
But let's see. So that a water bottle.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So my water. I'm so nervous about that, because I use my RYLA water bottle at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried that I'm going to leave it on my desk on Friday. Like, I'm just not going to think about it. So I need to like set an alarm for myself.
Okay, I'll set an alarm to remind you on Friday.
Yes. That'll be very helpful. I need all the help I can get.
I think that would be my bug spray. Yeah. What are yours?
Bug spray, I always bring cough drops, but those are essentially for like staff, but I'll also have them. So just find me. I'll be good. And geez, what else? I mean, I always tell the campers to make sure they bring like, bring like Febreze.
Mm,
Bring like Febreze
yeah,
or something to help your clothes smell better. Stuff
that's a
like
good
that. They're not
call
going to
out.
smell good, but smell better. And yeah, now this is interesting too because you and I are both, I guess maybe we don't need to give away the whole program, but you and I are both we are both facilitators this year.
That's correct.
We're both getting up there and presenting at some point during camp. So what I would encourage everybody to bring is their clapping attitudes and like their like an applause sign. If you could do that, just like wild, raucous standing ovations at every turn would be
Hmm.
awesome. If you could do that, that would really boost our confidence.
That's good. That's good. Mine
Don't bring your
especially.
yes, don't bring your phone.
No.
You won't need it. Don't bring your phone. Um, I'm going to I'm going to text my wife when I get there, and then that's basically going to be it. I'll be like, I'm gone. Bye. I left. And yeah, so we're excited. I'm excited for camp, man. It's so crazy because like proof that time has no meaning.
Hmm.
This feels like one of those things where it feels really far away until it is right on top of you,
Yes.
and then it's right on top of you.
And it's like when the parent meeting started late last month, I was like, oh wow, okay, camp is here, but we've got to get through 7 of these bad boys. And
Mm-hmm.
then at the last parent meeting, it's like, okay, we're at the big show here in like less than 2 weeks,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's here.
yeah, the big boy. It's the real thing. I mean, like this time, I mean, think about this. Like I was thinking about this on Sunday. I was coming back from or I was coming back from one of my kids' friends' birthday parties because like to party. Um, and I was thinking it was like Sunday evening, and I'm like, man, like right now, like it'll be happening. Like the camp, like not just like staff being there getting ready, like campers will be there.
Mm,
Camp will be in action. Like the flag will be up. You
flag will be
know,
up. Camp will be open.
camp will be open. Yeah.
Might even
Oh,
be
and
working on our first RYLACast at camp.
maybe we will. So bring snacks. Bring snacks for me to steal while you're sleeping. That'd be great too. That's for
Ooh,
campers.
ooh, okay, okay. I thought of another one
Oh
for all
yeah.
the listeners out there who are just upset that maybe they can't. And I don't mean this in jest because I had parents when I went to camp that this was the first camp I went to by myself,
Uh-huh.
and that was a little nerve-wracking for all parties involved. Send letters,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
snail mail letters.
It rules. Like if you get a letter at camp, I've never gotten a letter at camp. Not even
Oh
once.
man,
I might
I
write
think
you one like tonight
okay. Yeah,
and just
yeah,
like
dude.
mail it to you.
Prep for the lag in the big fan of the U.S. Postal Service, but prep for that lag.
Purple flag. Yeah, exactly. Or like maybe I'll leave it here and I'll ask my wife to like drop it in the mail. Ooh, you know what? Here's the thing. We can use Memorial Day to our advantage because they're not going to deliver mail then.
Oh, that's
So
right.
you could probably this will work out great because I'm not, like I said, I'm going out there on Saturday evening. I could drop it in the mail then and you won't get it until Tuesday.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write you a letter tonight. How was that?
What a guy.
Yeah, write a letter to your camper or your favorite person there at camp. Do that. They will they'll feel really really good about it. It'll make them feel good. So do that. Good idea. Okay, Josie. I suppose the only thing left to do now is just go to camp.
That's it.
Okay, cool. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Thanks for enjoying this RYLAcast. We hope you will stay tuned if you are to the RYLAcast we're going to have next week during camp. It's going to be great. I'm really excited, really, really, truly excited to see what our campers come up with for our RYLAcast feed. It'll be fun no matter what. It'll be fantastic and probably better than this nonsense. But we hope you will rate, comment, and tell a friend about this podcast. And here with an antiquated way to tell people about the podcast is Josey.
Yes. Thank you, Greg. The antiquated way, one of the many fine segments here on our RYLACast.
I love when you're definitely not vamping because you didn't think of one.
For this week, definitely not vamping. For this week's antiquated way to tell a friend about the RYLACast.
It's an antiquated way to tell a friend about the RYLACast.
It's an antiquated way. So we're coming up kind of almost, I would call us deep in the throes of baseball season.
We are.
And for those unfamiliar with baseball, there are signs, various signs, that you give to runners, batters, for whatever, and they mean something. So I need you, listener, to come up with a sign, maybe like a line from shoulder to shoulder across your chest. If you're wearing a hat, kind of zip your fingers across the bill. Come up with a sign that means listen to the RYLACast, engage your earlobe, maybe a couple little tugs, and then make sure you disseminate the sign meaning to friends and family, and then just start giving the sign as the antiquated way to listen to the RYLACast.
Check out RYLA5810.org. We will see you at camp. Josey, thanks for your courage.
Thanks, Greg.
Talk to you next time on the RYLACast.